There's Mike
That's
Tyson doing his
incredible.
workout.
That's right. It's a little sneak preview. We don't have Mike Tyson on the show, but it's someone maybe even better than Mike Tyson here. Colton, are you excited for our guest?
I am so excited about today's guest.
I'm stoked. He has built a career around sports science and strength conditioning. He's worked actually with the British, Canadian, and the United States Olympic teams. He's been to 7 Olympic Games. Over 500 Olympians have trained with him. And now he is the Senior Director of Performance and Innovation at Tonal. And he is British. So just by listening to him, you can hear that he's smarter than us. So we are so excited to have him on the show here today. Please welcome on the show, Troy Taylor. Yes.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. I appreciate you guys having me there. Mike Tyson perfectly showing how Tonal's supposed to be used there.
That's right.
It seemed a little extreme, and I think that's a perfect lead in here. Obviously, he's a fan. He's used the Tonal before. That's actually my first exposure to the Tonal product. I saw him using it. I was like, what is he doing? What is this thing?
What is that?
And now he's got this big fight coming up in July. So right away, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Troy, who do you think is going to get on the canvas this upcoming July?
I hope it's Mike Tyson. Just like I grew up with Mike Tyson being heavyweight champion of the world and kind of thing. So I hope his 50-something-year-old body can hold up.
It. Yeah,
if it's not fit.
Well, he's used the Tonal, so like he's got an upper hand. I mean, who's going to win? That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he's the man. I think everyone that ever grew up watching him. I mean, I remember seeing him, coming out with a towel over his head and all that. Just the most intimidating force. I mean, almost like a shark. Like you ever go to an aquarium, you see shark and the black eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that thing is terrifying. That was Mike Tyson. So it would make me sad to see Mike Tyson on the canvas for sure. I'm hoping he puts Jake Paul in his
I remember, like, I'm British, so like he fought a guy called Frank Bruno back in the day, and absolutely destroyed. It was like he was like the British heavyweight champion and kind of thing. It was just not even fair.
Oh man. Well, I think the whole world will be eagerly anticipating that fight. I think there's gonna be a lot of people watch. That'll be a very watched endeavor for sure. I'm excited about that one.
That's right.
And he was using the Tonal there. Is that a typical use of the product there? Is that what you typically see?
No, the punch boxing, it is a use case that you can do. It's not one of our 250 moves that we that are loaded into the program. But Mike Tyson can kind of do what he wants, right? So
yeah.
That's right.
Well, and I'm so excited to get into Tonal and what you guys are doing over there. I think it's a phenomenal product. Excited about that. But Andrew did a great job talking about your intro. You have worked with some of the best athletes in the world. Give us a little bit of your background. Like, how did you get started in this top echelon fitness realm? How did you get into that?
Yeah, like many people, I grew up loving sport, not particularly a great athlete. Kind of tried hard and liked training, but was never particularly like the best from a technical ability standpoint. So when it came to go to university, didn't know what I wanted to do. So started an undergrad in sports science, thought I'd become like a PE teacher or personal trainer. Tried both of those, but not for me. So went back, did a sort of master's degree. And when I was doing my master's degree, I started volunteering for the British Olympic swim team. Okay. Date myself, that was like pre-04 Olympics in Athens. And so I started working with them and sort of just volunteered like 12, 16 hours a week or something like that. Volunteered, really enjoyed it. Loved working with the athletes, loved working actually with the coaches and the other sports scientists and really trying to, how do we get these 99th percentile people and add 1% to them.
Really, was that just swimming at that time, or was that?
Yeah. Before 04, that was during my master's degree, just swimming, and then I got a job immediately after. Because of that experience, got a job straight out of university, working with another university team who worked with the British track and field team and some EPL soccer teams. And really over the next sort of 20 years was a strength coach, sports scientist, a leader, a high performance director, or a director of sports science and medicine, really crisscrossing the globe a little bit, working with almost exclusively Olympic sport, consulted into some professional sport a little bit, but full-time in Olympic sport, really working at the sort of integration between science, technology, medicine, and human performance to kind of add a little bit to hopefully some athletes, help them get on top step of the podium, which thankfully a few of them did.
Yeah. And was that just for British, or was you kind of going all up? You talk about crisscrossing. Is it more of a service that you kind of hire out for any Olympic athlete more than a specific country?
Yeah, you can buy my allegiance is what you're alluding to. Yes. After the Athens Olympics in '04, I kind of wanted to do something different. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'd been to the US. I coached soccer in Long Island, New York, in the Hamptons when I was an undergrad, and I was like, wow, like these incredible houses in the Hamptons. Like, I love America. Yeah. This is amazing. I gotta go and live here.
This is America, not Walmart in the South. The Hamptons. Soccer.
The Hamptons. That's it.
Hadn't had the full exposure. Sag Harbor in July was my limited exposure to that. But a job came up at US ski and snowboard team. I'd skied twice at the time, but I basically applied because this was really at the takeoff of sports science, really in the US in professional sport. It was another decade or more before it came common practice. So there was a job came up at US ski and snowboard. It was run actually by a bunch of Australians. The sports science was kind of over there. I basically badgered them into giving me a job. I kept sending emails. Hey, have you seen my resume? Like, I'm really keen to work kind of there. And anyway, they eventually gave me a job. I worked at the Torino Winter Olympics with them in 2006.
Okay.
Left for a little while. Spent 6 or so years in Canada as a director of sports science and medicine for the Canadian Olympic team based out of Toronto. Worked in a bunch of different sports, rowing, swimming, cycling, athletics, a whole bunch. And then back to the US in about 2015.
Okay. Well, in those cross-discipline type stuff, what was some of the carryover? Like what was your specific thing that you were fascinated with that led you from rowing to, those seem like very almost disconnected types of muscles, but obviously athletes overall. But what was kind of the fascinating thing for you that led you from one to the next?
Yeah, I think the general theme of human performance, but I was a physiologist and a sports scientist by kind of nature or by background and by training, but I really love the interconnection between what we call sort of multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary teams. So between physiology, nutrition, psychology, sports medicine, athletic training, biomechanics. And I often talked about myself as a sort of an expert generalist, and what I really enjoyed was that kind of, I had a decent level of expertise and knowledge in physiology and training, but I had this really interest in this broad, wide range of how do these different disciplines work together to get the best out of the athlete? Because quite oftentimes, and especially I think this is a lot more common now, but you go back 10, 15 years, a lot of in the elite sport was I'm a strength coach. It's all about the weight room. Or I'm a nutritionist. It's all about the diet. And I'm a psychologist. It's all about the mental performance. And really, no, it's all about the athlete and what the athlete needs and how do we interplay and sort of, sometimes, strength's super important, but sometimes it's not the most important. Sometimes real technical expertise is important. Sometimes not. And so sort of managing that and sort of really working collaboratively to how do we create these sort of what we used to call gold medal profiles or what it takes to win models of hey, every individual is completely unique. What it takes for them to win is going to be different. So how do we collectively as a team work together to help them achieve their goals?
Fascinating.
That's awesome. Was there maybe a particular thing that you saw in most athletes, maybe all of them, that they were falling short on, and some of them that they were things that they all fell short on, and some things that they all did really, really good at, things that everyone needed work on, and then things that everyone they were good, they were set, they didn't need to work on at all?
Not really. There's some commonalities, I'd say general heuristics or generalities, but I wouldn't say there was a universal in it across every sport and every athlete. This is something they're really good at. They're not. What I would say is what I noticed is the very best athletes. So you talk about I've worked with Lindsey Vonn and Michaela Schifrin in skiing. They're some of the most successful, or the most successful female athletes of all time in that sport, and some Olympic gold medalists over their different sports. I think the thing that separates, not the only thing, but a few of the things that separate them is they both maximize their strengths and also minimize their weaknesses. And it's about a combination between those, and minimize their weaknesses in the sense that if it's performance limiting. Whereas a lot of other athletes will do one or the other, but not both. So they were I'm a really good, I don't know, whatever. I'm really good as a passer, as a quarterback, but I can't run for shit. or I'm awesome at, at something and know where I kind of only maximize strength, and others that just spend their entire time working on their weaknesses, but they never like really excel in the things that they made them great or made them very good. And I think some of the best athletes in the world, combination of maximizing strength while minimizing weaknesses, is probably the separator in some ways.
That's
so they took kind of like both sides of the spectrum. They took both sides of it, and that's what made that 1% even smaller and smaller and smaller, and crushed that 1% down even further to make them the peak athlete that they could be.
That would be more of my observations. I think there's lots of different things that uniquely go into each athlete, but that would be a commonality I saw across multiple of them.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Even those mindsets. I mean, I didn't play college sports. I played high school sports, and I played middle school sports. And the jump from middle school to high school was like a whole different ballgame. And my father played. Both my mom and my dad played college sports. My mom played volleyball. My dad played football. And they talk about the jump. I mean, it was just tremendous. They were both really elite athletes in high school, and then they go to college and they're like normal. And then they're like, if you're an elite in college and you go to the NFL or you go to professional sports, you're probably normal, even if you're the top percentage at your sport. So each of the jumps, the top percentage gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer for sure.
Yeah, and it's exponential, right? You're the best in your town of 10,000, 100,000 people, are the best in your state of 1 million or 5 million, the best in your country, and then like the best in the world. Like it exponentially increases and every step of the way. And there's a lot of athletes that actually struggle with that jump, and it's a well-studied psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but psychologists. Things like the idea of grit and Angela Duckworth. And
you're not a psychologist, but you're expert at the generals. I love that.
Exactly,
That's a good term.
That's right.
Surface deep on 25 different topics. But
there you go.
They often talk about in that way that like if we'd see this on national team athletes, they make it to the national team having never been beat, having never been challenged, and they've never had to strive for that. Someone like Michaela won every race she was ever in since she was 12, but she trained with the national team guys from the age of 13. So she was like against people better than herself. Often we see with some athletes that I was the best kid in my school, everything, best kid in my college, best kid in thing. And then you get to the world stage and the first time you're getting beat and you don't have any of the skills to handle that. And so it takes an adaptation period. Ideally, you get exposure along the way, but if you don't, like, how do you adapt to that new challenge?
Yeah. So you're working with some of the top athletes in the world. When did you shift? Let's actually go just to Tonal first. So we'll get into how you made the shift to Tonal, but what is Tonal? We got it in your lower third there. It says tonal.com. Obviously, we saw Tyson doing his thing on the Tonal. You talk about 250 itemized, individualized workouts, but what is Tonal?
Yeah, so Tonal is essentially a full gym that mounts to your wall. Rather than using mass or iron or metal weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, we essentially create resistance via electromagnetic motors. The easiest heuristic to think about is a Tesla or an electric car versus a combustion car, right? You can generate resistance or power via electricity, and much in the same way that like Tesla has its ludicrous mode, we have opportunities to manipulate resistance in ways that are completely unique that you couldn't do with mass. And so it's a full gym, mounts to your wall. It generates resistance by electromagnetics. It's a cable column, right? It's a dual stack. The arms come out, up, down, 250 different sort of places around how you can move around it. And it's connected to the internet with a, integrated touchscreen TV. So we can deliver coaching through the screen to hundreds of thousands of people across the US. So really cool, innovative piece of kit.
I love that.
It just floats. In this advert. Just floats. Don't even need a wall.
So you don't need a wall. Can you use it like in an apartment? Is it loud? Like, we're seeing videos of it here. Is it like usable anywhere or?
Yeah, it attaches pretty much to any wall via maybe a couple of unique scenarios. Brick we do not do well with, so it wouldn't do as well. Wouldn't do as well in Britain where there's a lot of brick houses. But yeah, studs, metal kind of things, condos, apartments. It's pretty quiet.
Love it.
Because it's like the Tesla, right? There's no big V8 kind of revving along.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of relatively quiet. You can hear the motors and the cable kind of move around, but it relatively quiet. Can be apartment. It's like 5 inches. It comes out from the wall. you need a 7x7 space. So really kind of space saving, convenient.
That's great. And
What's
you're
kind
not
of the
dropping
weight
big
range?
weights. There's nothing heavy. That's great.
What's kind of the weight range
awesome.
on this? So it talks about adaptive weight. Is this something that somebody that's like benching heavy or something like that? Like, can you hit some like heavy weight on this as well?
Yeah. So it's 5 to 200 pounds
Okay.
weight. I commissioned a research study out of High Point University a couple of years ago, because a lot of our members were saying, well, it feels heavier than 200 pounds in the gym, like when you're benching or deadlifting, something like that. So we kind of commissioned this study to sort of understand it. And essentially what the long story of that short is it comes out about 25% heavier. So it's about 250-ish pounds of free weight feel. And that's because we don't have inertia, or we have much less inertia, right? Newton's law, if you put, if a mass is moving and it wants to keep moving, that's not true of an electromagnetic motor. So when you're moving on that deadlift and the bar is already going up, it kind of wants to continue going up. Obviously not a lot with gravity pushing against it, but it does want to move.
Is it a similar technology to at the gym yesterday? The guy had like kettlebells, and I was doing kettlebell bicep curls. And then he attached a band on the next round, and you hold the band, and the 40-pound kettlebell felt like it had to be like 60 pounds or something. Is that the same kind of technology? Because he said it was working against you even on the way down because of the band. So it's significantly heavier.
Yeah, that's adding tension to it, which also reduces inertia. We also have something that adaptive resistance we call a sort of dynamic weight modes, which is like adding bands or chains where certain parts of the move you're stronger than other parts of the move, and so we can add additional weight within a rep. So you can maybe only get 150 pounds off your chest, but you can get 200 pounds at the top. We can add essentially what we call chains mode with the touch of a button to accommodate that resistance. So essentially maximizing the amount of muscle tension throughout the range of motion.
And I know we're going to get into some of the technology here in a little bit. We're going to talk about AI and some of these different pieces, but is that something that it's kind of automatically figuring out as you go to kind of push you to your limits as you're going? Or is it kind of like learning? Is it individualizing it to you in that workout? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. The weight is individualized to you. Every single set that you do, essentially a massive AI and machine learning algorithm suggested weights that actually the team, I say I, but it's not really I at all, but some really smart data scientists. Essentially, if we have 4 moves, we can predict your 1RM with 95% plus accuracy across the entire 200 moves. Essentially map, neural network, a whole bunch of different things. So we can do that, and we adjust and update it real time every single set. So every single time that you lift, we get a little smarter. We know about your range of motion, your normal pattern, so we can utilize that. So there's that. And then we have training programs that are like the same training program that my team writes. There's, 5,000 workouts, 300 programs, adding more every week.
Yeah.
And then the program is the program, but it's adapted to you for the weight that you need. And then if you want to modify, swap out a move, those types of things, then you have the ability to change it afterwards.
That's cool.
Super cool.
So it sounds almost like I have a personal trainer that I work with, and it sounds almost like having a trainer. And you'd mentioned that earlier, like there's coaching and training integrated in the system. So like my trainer, we'll do like a warm-up set, he'll visually see where I'm at, but he still doesn't know like where I'm at, like how hard I'm pushing, anything like that. So it sounds almost like it does some coaching. Does it help you with form at all? Like if you're too far forward or back, how does that all work, the coaching part?
Yeah. So Ali, who's our founder and CTO, he essentially, his founder story, really short, is like really, really, really smart dude. Massive entrepreneur, highly successful, earned a bunch of money, but like got his health paid. And so he... yeah, I'm sorry, laughing. He essentially took a year out, got himself fit by getting a personal trainer, spent a year basically getting himself back into health things, thought, oh shit, I got to go back to work now. What am I going to do? I'm not going to have to train for 4 hours a day, and basically invented Tonal as his personal trainer. That's the long story short. And so, yes, we tried to replicate essentially personal training as much as possible within that. So can we do form feedback? Yes. We measure cable length. So we're measuring at 50 times a second, the cable length changing. So we know if right, left, like right or left, asymmetry, whether you're tilted, whether you're going full range of motion or not. We also have a computer vision smart phone app. Essentially, you set up your phone perpendicular and it uses a pose estimation AI model to, hey, you've got some knee valgus, or your ankle flexibility is not great. So a whole bunch of different sort of technology around that. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
that
crazy.
Is so
does
cool.
does it audibly like tell you like while you're working, like move, or does it hit you with something like a stick or something? How does it tell you that your form's out of shape?
I'm trying to get the stick one in there. No, it gives you a text based. It gives you a little audible tone and a text based kind of form feedback to like not jerk the movement, maintain slow, or maintain a good pace or something like that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards on the phone app, you get to review your video. So you can get the video right on the trainer. It will kind of show up on your trainer as you're doing it, but then it will save it when you get a form feedback cue. So you can go back onto the phone app and say, oh yeah, like when I deadlift, my shins come way far forward and I'm not sitting back as much as I should be. And so there's both the cue, the form error that you made, and the video for you to kind of see. So
it's like watching game film almost, going back and looking at your previous, like your workout and everything. That's
pretty much, yeah.
So it does have cameras on it that are watching for the workout there. Is that correct? That's how they're getting the videos and such. There's cameras on there.
They're setting up their phone camera in this instance. So it's all on their smartphone, like because that's kind of one of the best angles is that side on view, so they can kind of see it. And so they set up their phone, so it goes on there and then automatically syncs.
So how did you go from working with top performing athletes over here into something that's now kind of attainable for everybody? Like, I mean, this is the kind of product that, like, if but probably not for like every single person. If you're washing, I started out washing dishes at a steakhouse. The monthly fee on this would have been more than I would have spent on most of my budget line items, but for someone that makes a decent income, that's, makes it, a little maybe above average, but that kind of realm, they can have this at their house now. How did you go from that jump of top 1% to get 1% better to this group?
Yeah, so in 2015, I came back to US Ski and Snowboard, and that job is really about cutting edge innovation, right? There's a really good support team that take care of most of the day-to-day like operations of elite performance. So whether it's the strength conditioning, the medical program, like really solid team, big team. It's about 50% of the US Winter Olympic team. So 100 athletes or so they send to the Olympics. So it's a big organization. And that job as a high performance director is like, what's coming next? Where should we be? Not where are we at? And so as that, I ran a whole bunch of like projects with Silicon Valley. It's the competitive advantage that I thought we had in the US was startups. And so I ran projects. I was the first professional or Olympic team to run virtual reality projects. We filmed the 2018 Olympic course in virtual reality in 2016. We got early access, filmed it in 360, so we could get reps on it because no one else could. It was in Pyeongchang, not a place that we go to very often. So I was running these projects for elite sport, and as part of that, I was aware of Tonal. I was like, well, it wasn't an elite sport venture; it was home fitness, but it was kind of an interesting technology I've been interested in. I'd bought for $80,000. Don't tell my former boss, but like an electromagnetic resistance machine out of Austria in about 2014. And like when you're really, really adopter, you're like early adopter, you kiss some frogs. Like it was not great, but I liked the potential. So I kept an eye on the market. And then I saw this sort of home fitness device in 2019 as part of that was like, they got some of the same technology. I didn't really think much of it.
It started in 2018, is that right? Tonal started in 2018?
Launched in 2018.
Okay.
And so I didn't really think much of it because home fitness equipment didn't really, I was like, I've like spent a lot of money on training. I've spent a lot of money on training equipment over the years. And I'm like, home fitness is not really where I was expecting. But I had a board member who was a board advisor at Tonal, who was part of the ski team. He's like, you should try it. It's really good. And I was like, nah. But as a favor as much as anything, because he's a donor of the team, I was like, I sent a staff member to LA to try the showroom, and he loved it. Thought it was great. He's like, we should definitely get one. We did get one. It was actually just right at the lockdown. It was mid-March of 2020 when it was due to be delivered. So I got it delivered to Michaela Schifrin's house because my training center was closed. Anyway, I tried it. I loved it. About a year later, I'd stayed in contact with them. About a year later, they said, would you like to come over and be involved in this performance innovation team? And I was like, I'd really like this startup world. I've been doing all these projects. I kind of not done it all in sport, but I'd done a lot in sport. I was like, I kind of fancy a different change. So I did. And 3 years later, I'm still here.
Got it. So this is like
Love
2021 then when you made the jump.
Yeah,
So,
June, almost exactly 3 years ago, June
Okay.
2021.
So post COVID world, you know, it was still
Kind of like post like real tight lockdown, but still, there was still Omicron had to come back to kind of things. But yeah, it was like, I would say like second half of COVID.
Got it.
Got it. Nice. So your day went from working with like top level athletes to working over here at Tonal. What does your day look like now from working with these athletes in the field? I don't know if you're like training with them or what you're doing with them to help them optimize that 1%. Your day went from that to over here working at Tonal. What does your day look like now? What's the day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so my team really works across 3 areas, and I get to play in all of them. The team does a lot of the work, and I get to take a lot of the credit. They're awesome, John, Jenna, Jake. Thank you, and others. But essentially, there's the curriculum, the programming that you'll see on Tonal. So my team works with the coaches, writes all the programming, sets, reps, exercises, that kind of stuff. I throw my hand in every now and again if we need a workout and kind of stuff. If I've got some expertise, say it's a ski workout, or I really like some of the bro hypertrophy workouts. I'll write some of them to keep them interesting around there. We work on product development a lot on like software and hardware. I'm in Toronto. That's one of the reasons I'm here. So future state, what's coming next, really trying to bring evidence-based fitness. I'm heavy on the science side of like, where is training going?
It does look like you've done some hypertrophy work here, man. I mean, you got the body typing going on
not
sure.
As much. Unfortunately, with all the science I've got, unfortunately, bad genetics. That's what I'm going to blame it on.
If you're listening to this only on podcast, you got to check him out. He's Strength Science Troy on Instagram, and
check him out. Give him a follow.
We've been going through some of his tips here. He's using the Tonal. It looks pretty amazing, man.
It looks like you
do it.
Tonal. Yeah.
Yeah, I just to the right of the screen there is a squat rack. Since I got Tonal, I've used it less than a half a dozen times, and I've done about 1,300 workouts on Tonal.
Wow.
So I'm definitely an advocate for the product. I lost my train of thought of where I was at, but yeah. So product development, like what's coming next, like features, like that smart view feature that was like pose estimation. Where are we going? Training, bringing that in, and then a lot of this kind of stuff. Like I commissioned some research projects. So we've got a number of research projects that we're working on. I can do my place around sort of thought leadership within performance science space, human performance. Like how do we take some of the things that I've learned with working with the best athletes in the world and democratize that to a lot more people, both on the elite end and also like a lot more on just like, how do we get people really jazzed and excited and make exercise and fitness and health accessible for them?
That's one of our main pitches here with the show. We this is specifically catered to dads, to men. Surprisingly, I think we do have a large female audience base as well. Probably all the good looks, on the Andrew side over there.
It's all the guests, actually, is what it is. All the good looking guests we keep having on.
But we're catered to guys, and there's a big pitch of kind of a beta mentality in the world right now, and so we're kind of like cheering men on to be alphas, and like what does that look like? Like show up at work really well, show up in your fitness really well, show up with your family, like don't cheap out with your family, don't give everything to everybody else and then come home and be too tired to chase your kids around and hang out and stuff. So that's kind of the tension to manage as a country. And I've traveled a little bit internationally, but I'm gonna kind of just keep it to America because I've traveled all over the country here. I've lived in like 10 states in the United States. As a nation, it feels like our top athletes continue to get better because whenever you look at the world records, I mean, I was looking at something just a little bit ago. We're celebrating 60 years since the 4-minute mile was broken. And when I was in high school, I ran track and cross country, and probably like 6 of the guys on our teams could run sub 4-minute miles. I mean, and at least in that very, really close to 4-minute mile range. So now it's like high schoolers can do something that 60 years ago they thought your lungs would burst out if you did this. I found this picture. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I also don't mind offending sometimes. It's just a picture on the beach, 1960, people on the beach, 2023, people on the beach. And this is what you see. And if you go, I've been on the beaches in California, I've been on the beaches in Florida, I've been all over the place. It just looks dramatically different from just every picture you've seen of that era. And I feel like Americans overall are continuing to get, more sick, more fat overall, and the top athletes continue to get better. So we have the technology, we have what we need in place, and you're talking about democratizing it. I am a huge fan of that. I would love to see, very fit. Like, there's no reason like every American couldn't be fit. I think that's accessible to everybody here. What are your thoughts on some of this stuff? Where do you see that? I see you as kind of the bridge between this. Like, you've worked with some of these top athletes, you understand this, and now you're creating a technology that people can have access to.
Yeah, I if I can play a part in making that bridge, that would be a huge accomplishment. I'd be very happy with my work or for Tonal to do so. I think like it's a complicated one and like socioeconomic. There's a whole bunch of factors that go into it. But like, let's start at the top end and getting performance better. Like, the best athletes in the world have always trained hard, right? That, like, I don't think that athletes now train necessarily any harder or any more dedicated or in their pursuit of that. What they do have is, they have better technology, whether that's hardware and the footwear. If you look what Jesse Owens runs compared to what Mike Usain Bolt ran in,
right,
they're almost a different sneaker, right? It's like there's not they're not even in the same realms of possibility. And then there's where I spent my sort of large part of my career of people trying to optimize. We've learned a lot about the science of training and how we can optimize and how we can improve that. And I think you are seeing in most established sports not a plateau, but a slower in the incline. Like, it's a logarithmic relationship. It's the increments are getting smaller and smaller. We are getting closer to human potential. I think we'll continue to on that upward slant for probably ever, but for a while longer. But you're not seeing, no one's breaking the world record in the 100 meters by half a second, right? We're shaving thousandths or hundredths of a second off in doing that. But and so
best in the world, never heard of you. Best in the world, never heard of you. I mean, some of these sports, it's very marginal. It's a nose hair difference.
Yeah, and then in some of the less participation sports, like, there's still some jumps, right? I don't want to say it's a low participation sport because I don't want to offend anyone, but like, you look at the changes in female basketball right now, like, game changing. Like, the best in the world now is way better than the best in the world a decade ago. It's a sport where it has had massive growth, and I think that will continue. And so you see this in emerging sports. We used to run a program, I forget what it was called, Pitch to Podium or something like that. But it was basically take soccer players and convert them, or rugby players in the UK, and convert them to bobsled track and skeleton athletes. Bunch of Olympic medalists came out of very similar transfer programs, because the talent pool in those is relatively small, whereas the talent pool in soccer is huge. So if you're really fast, you've got a lot of attributes to do that. So the best in the world are basically focusing their attention onto doing that and having support. The average person in America, and to be honest, it's Western world around. If you looked at obesity rates in Britain, in Canada, in Australia, they're not necessarily as high, but the change in them is on the same trajectory as the US. No one's on a great spot in terms of chronic diseases, in terms of obesity, in terms of the US is in terms of actually declining in lifespan. Everyone else is still increasing pretty much, but the health span, right, which is how healthy you are in those yards, not do I live a long time. Lifespan is duration of life. I lived 90 years. Health span is how many of those 90 years was physically active, free of illness. That's getting shorter pretty much across the Western world and has been for a while.
It's interesting.
That's a cool metric to track. I hadn't heard that.
I hadn't heard that ever.
Yeah, there's a great research paper came out called Mind the Gap, and it's basically this gap between lifespan and health span. Peter Attia and others do a ton of space around that, and there's a lot of reasons that go into that. I would say resistance training is actually one of the primary drivers of decreasing that gap. Because as we get later in life, we get sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass. It gets harder to put on muscle mass. I'm 45 now, just had my birthday. I'm trying to maintain for the most part. If I can, I've thankfully built a reasonable level of muscle mass and strength. I can still gain muscle mass for sure. If there is possible, it's physiologically possible. It's harder. There's no doubt about that, but it's definitely possible. But I want to maintain this for as long as humanly possible. That's why I train, is to maintain muscle mass, strength, and power. And like because that sarcopenia, that age-related loss of muscle mass and age-related loss of strength is what leads to frailty, leads to falls, leads to all those things. But go back to answer the question a little bit, like why are the best getting better and the average person is getting worse? I think we are what we focus on, right? And we in the Western world have generally been focused on having a really good job, like working really hard and kind of being successful in external kind of views of celebrations of success around there, of not necessarily sleeping, of having an abundance to access to really easily consumable calories in a way that in that 60s picture just didn't exist. We are surrounded, like I've been traveling today, I came up to Toronto, like I'm surrounded like by like not great food choices at pretty much every turn.
Calorically expansive. I mean, you pull up to a gas station, there's got to be like 6 million calories at your disposal for the cheapest prices that we've ever seen in human history.
It's unbelievable. And like I actually, travel is one of the things, like I've always been into fitness and health given my job, but like I've had times when I've been a little heavier, a little less training, like not that I'm an elite athlete right now, but like travel was always my killer, right? And we form these habits, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm traveling, like I'm going to go out to eat because I don't have access to my food. I'm like, oh, there's like, I'm in the airport, I'll go and get some, some fast food before I get on the plane. Oh, the car's coming around, I'm going to grab, like, which just, it's really, really hard. It's really hard to do that. And then on the training side of it and sort of the fitness, I don't see fitness and training, like it helps with weight loss. There's tons of research. Cardiovascular training, like aerobic training helps, and resistance training helps. They both can be useful tools in reduction or expending calories and reduction there. Neither are like game changing for that. Like that's mostly nutrition. It's mostly about your lifestyle and changing your sort of relationship with food. I'm not a dietitian. And yeah, the research, you can lose a couple of % on average with aerobic training or resistance training, like that. But what you can do is build muscle mass, which is going to burn calories constantly, right? It's going to be your engine, and it's going to allow you to do a lot of the other things, but it's not going to combat you like, getting into like, a huge party sized pack of Doritos every time you go on an airplane.
Go to the airport. That's right. So,
we're challenged. I think we have been challenged, and I think it's about, I don't think it's a lack of knowledge. I think there might have been a lack of knowledge for a while. I think now it's a lot of habit, and a lot of companies that are encouraging us. We get adverts to do this. A lot of social activities that are built around alcohol or eating and those types of things. So we kind of have to not break, but change our relationships with food.
It's easy. It's like the easiest thing to do is to eat unhealthy. We do a lot of traveling for my job. I do a lot of traveling certain times of the year, and we drive. So we don't even fly, we drive. And every gas station in the middle of nowhere, United States of America, they've got taquitos, and they've got chips, and they've got soda, and in the back, they've got some old apples and maybe a banana. So it's like the easiest thing to do is just eat unhealthy. But I agree with what you said 100%. There's enough information out, so we know. It's just making that tough call to, and really it's preparing, tracking my own nutrition. It's what this past week I failed miserably on my nutrition tracking, and my coach I just talked to him right before I came here. I just talked to my coach, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? And it's because I didn't prepare. At the grocery store, I didn't prepare. I didn't buy the food. I didn't prep the food. I was at the office and I didn't have the food, so it's like, preparing is a big thing. But I think a lot of our listeners, I kind of want to bring it back to the 1%, and then you've got like the average person. And a lot of our listeners are the average person here, and they're busy moms, busy dads. They're kind of running around. If they were to get the Tonal device, the machine here, and they come home and they're going to do a workout, how long does that workout last? Is it Olympic level workouts? Does it start easy, get more difficult? Like, how does it actually work? Is it, if someone was to get it, come home and do a workout, what does that look like? Does it take 2 hours, 15 minutes? What does that all look like?
The workout can look, and this is what I love about having a home gym and having a Tonal. The workout can look how you want it to look. you want to do a 60-minute full-on, like, hardest workout of your life type kind of experience, I've got workouts, or there are workouts on there that would push some of our my Olympic athletes or previous Olympic athletes harder than anything I would write for them, like crazy hard.
Wow.
I feel bad writing some of them, but like members love it. Like, there's a portion of them
they want that challenge. They want it.
But if you want to work out for 15 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, for 1 minute, you can do that. And so what I do is a ton, like when I'm at home, Tonal is literally behind my desk. I have a desk on rollers. And I will end a Zoom call. I'll have like 2 minutes before the next one. I push the desk out the way. I turn around to the Tonal and I'll do asset. It's called an exercise snack in the research literature. But
nice.
It's tons of like the benefits of that cognitive are like mood state and but benefits around like you can accumulate volume in doing that. I'm not going to do a max deadlift with no warm up,
right?
Is that cause I don't need to warm up for kind of things, right? I'll go out and I'll pump the guns or like do some overhead press or something like that, and I'll do that like 5 or 6 times during a day, just one set. That's all I'll do, and 2 minutes, and I'm back on Zoom and kind of things. And so it's really adaptable. Like I think James Atomic Habits. James, I forget the author's name.
James Clear.
James Clear. But like he's like all about making it easy and making it accessible or making it obvious. Like make it easy and make it obvious. I'm like, it's behind me for a reason. Everyone sees it.
Right. Don't put this in the attic. Don't put this in the garage. Like put this somewhere where you're
easy. Somewhere like that's one of the reasons. Like it's designed to be really pretty. Like so people want to show it off.
Home decor is what it is, right?
Yeah, like because we want you to see it and we want you to use it. And if it's like tucked away in the attic or somewhere, the chances of you walking past it are much smaller.
Yeah.
And so like one of the reasons
I love
like,
that in his series there he talks about if you join a gym that's on your way home from work, don't join one you got to drive out of your way. Totally. If the TV's in the way, unplug the TV every time you're done with it, so that way when you're those kind of like small things, if you can put the Tonal in somewhere where you're going to see it all the time and it's just accountability built in because it's looking at you, it's going to hurt a little more.
Yeah. And then like the proof is in the sort of the data side of it. We were looking at our membership. So people who joined more than 3 years ago. So like these are early adopters, right? These kind of things. And everyone since they're still working out on average more than 10 times a month on Tonal 3 years later. Mean. That's not like the best people. The mean, like your typical gym membership is not 10 times a month mean in the first month, let alone 3 years
10
later.
times a year, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. 67% of gym membership goes unused.
Right.
I love that.
But 3 years later, if you're still active, more than 10 workouts a month, and it's because it's this kind of sticky, engaging kind of process. And, people made an investment in doing it.
And huge congrats to you on the 100-week streak here, by the way. I saw that. I was like, hey. Big congrats.
Should have been 100.
One applause.
It should have been 152, but I went on vacation 2 years ago and took more than a week off and forgot to get my on-the-go workout on. I need to sort of product development, get that like retroactive. Give it to me. I promise I worked out in the hotel gym.
I love the gamification of it. I love that you got all these little trackers in here and how this is going. And I think this is super cool technology that people could have. This has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I think people should get Tonal. What's kind of your last message here? Someone's watching this. I know we talked about before. You're like, I don't do the hard sell. I don't do the get it or don't, kind of thing. You mentioned democratizing the fitness, and I think that's a great term for it. I love that term. When flat screen TVs first came out, they were like $14,000 for a 42-inch flat screen TV, and it was really expensive. Only the top elite, and it was kind of a subtle flex that you could get a flat screen TV. We just moved into this new house literally this last week. And we got a new TV, and it was like $250. And I'm like, it's a flat screen TV. I'm like, this is crazy. It has access to Netflix. It's so much smarter than the ones in the 2000s. And I think that gap of how long it takes things to get cheaper and easier for people to get is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. What's kind of your last message here? We talked about the Americans getting fatter, but they should be getting fitter. The technology is getting democratized. Things are getting cheaper. What's kind of your last pitch here to the audience here?
Yeah, like my overarching pitch is like, The benefits of strength training and resistance training are like undoubtedly extremely positive and are evidence-based around that. Like, yes, it's not maybe the best weight loss tool in the world, like that's eating less, but muscle mass, strength, power, they're the things that are going to allow you to do what you want to do now with your kids, with your life. Like you want to go out and play ball and like that. They're all strength related exercise. They're power related exercises. And my 8-year-old, like he's testing my power on like my pitching arm right now as he's kind of get into his baseball. Like it helps you with all of those bases. You should resistance train. Yeah. If you've struggled to do that in the past, like, and I don't care how you do it, to be honest, like just do it. That's the single best thing. If you've struggled to do it in the past and you've bought a gym membership and not used it, or you're intimidated to go to the gym or don't know what you're doing and want more guidance, something like Tonal can be a really good solution for you. Number one, because it's in your home. I would say on that analogy of like the $15,000 TV to the $250. Yeah, we're in the middle period, right? We're not $15,000, but we're not $250 either. It is an investment, and it's an investment in your health. It will get cheaper over time, but it's not there yet. But I wouldn't wait because your health isn't waiting. But the changes that we're seeing, like yes, Tonal, the device it is, but the data it generates and how smart we can get or are getting with that data is going to personalize. So you have to train less, or at least like the minimal amount, to get the best outcomes. Like we've got hundreds of thousands of members that we can mine all of their data and say, hey, you're 40, you're like, maybe, you're a little overweight, you haven't trained in 3 years. Here's 25,000 people that look like you, and this is what was best for them. And we can start using that data to inform what's best for you based on fundamental evidence of science-based practice. And so you're seeing a real shift there. So if you're interested, I'd definitely get one, but just train. Buying it, you owe it to yourself and to your family to be at least try and be the healthiest version of yourself that you can. And resistance training should be a foundational underpinning piece of that.
Huge.
Love it.
Guys, go to Instagram and follow Strength Science Troy on Instagram. This is a great follow. He's a blast to follow over here. And watch out some of his workouts. Keep him accountable. We're going to see that 150. You got to break that streak now.
That's right. I had it less than 1,200 days. Less than 3 years, and worked out more than my exercise snacks. I think there's 1,200 workouts on that post.
That's so cool.
More than one a day.
And then go to
Tonal.com. It's not because they're very long. It's because they're very short.
Tonal.com. They got great payment plans for this. They got ways to break it up. They got all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out. See if it's the right fit for you guys. But I like the technology. I like where you guys are going with this. And we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Oh, man. I love that guy. That guy was great. What'd you think of Mr. Troy, Andrew?
Oh, he was so good. He had a lot of really great insights from the top and the bottom of the scale. So it was a great interview, great show.
It made me want to get a Tonal, and I was recognizing at the end. I know it's Troy, Taylor, and Tonal. He had all the T's. He's like the triple T's, right. The triple T threat.
The triple threat. That's right.
No, I thought that
he was great. We loved it.
And speaking of other greats, we got some really funny ones for you guys today. You know, this is our favorite part of the show. Andrew, is this still your favorite part of the show? Getting to react?
It is my favorite part of the show. I like the funny ones. I'm excited.
People make these really funny things on social media all over the world. We get these things. We receive these things from you guys, and we come on here and we react to culture and what is going on. So let's do the first one. You ready?
Ready.
Until the break of dawn, I go on.
Let's watch it one more time. I think I missed it. One more time.
Let's do it.
Let me get that first line.
Until the break of dawn, I go.
That's so good.
Love it.
If you guys didn't catch
No, it's good. Yeah.
He said, if you guys didn't catch it, it said on the screen, it said, my son will one day have an argument on the playground about whose dad is stronger. My job is to make sure he does not lose that argument. Andrew,
That's right.
Are you working out and making sure your son does not lose that argument?
Oh yeah, 5 days a week. 5 days a week, because it's coming up. He's 2, getting close to 3. That conversation's coming up. So that's my mission right now. Just make sure that he doesn't lose that argument.
It's the move. And you have another son now too, man. You got 2 sons' honors to defend. Now you've extended out your contract. I think you have an 18-year contract with your son to
just refreshed.
Maintain, and you just added on another 2 years onto your 18-year contract.
I did. I'm in it for the long haul here for this one, so I'm committed. It's gonna happen.
In it and committed. All right, let's do the next one here.
Let's do it.
Hey, getting up at 6 a.m. Hey, look at us running 5 kilometers.
A marathon before 6 a.m. How good.
Did he just say a fucking marathon?
Just ignore him, bro. It's one of those freak shows.
1,000. Did he say 1,000?
Now for 1,000 muscle ups.
Okay, surely that's cap. Jesus.
Now I feel insecure.
So I guess that's what it feels like to do a double Ironman in reverse.
This is gonna be a freaking joke.
Yeah, anyway, off to work. Day 337 of running the entire length of Africa.
Oh, there's always
That
someone
guy
fitter.
read Africa, which is crazy.
Did you see that? Did you follow him on Instagram?
Yeah. I have not followed him. No, not yet. But like, I heard about it. I saw the news stories and everything. But I mean, it's true. Everyone like looks to the next person and compares it. Like, oh no, he's doing another rep or heavier weights than I am, or is here at the gym more days than I am, or whatever. And it's like, can't really do that. But it's this is a funny one.
My favorite is when the guy said, "Okay, now I'm insecure." 1,000. Okay, now I'm insecure.
Yeah. now I'm insecure.
And a double Ironman, back
In reverse.
to back, in reverse. But everyone had found the man that ran all the way around Africa.
Around Africa, which is
I
wild
don't
to
care
think
what
about.
what fitness level you're at. That guy, I think that guy crushed you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He ran Africa. They took him all over the place. What was funny was he wasn't like, he was a good athlete, but he wasn't this like extreme person. He wasn't like Dean Carnance or something that's like run every marathon on every continent or something, or David Goggins. He's like kind of a normal dude. He had a normal job. I think he was like a barista or something, and then they went and did this. Like, this guy's balling.
That's a jump right there. Barista to running Africa. I mean, that's crazy. Good for him. Props.
Yeah, absolutely props. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching the show today. Go check out Tonal. Go check out Troy's Instagram. We talked about that today. And also go check out our sponsor, Mike Lindell at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code DAD at checkout, they give you up to 67% off. We are coming up on Father's Day. Andrew, you got any big Father's Day plans this year?
That's right. I don't think we have any Father's Day plans just yet, but we probably are going to get some Alpha Dad slippers over from mypillow.com. And I have a pair, and they are great. They are phenomenal. I love those slippers.
Yeah, you gotta get the slippers. Mypillow.com.
Gotta get. Look at
promo
Mike.
Code Dad. Mike's the man. I mean, you got a mustache
Mike's
like
the
that,
man.
you're absolutely killing it. But mypillow.com.
Right.
Go get yourself something awesome. Go get your husband something awesome. Go get your dad something awesome. If you're a dad on here and you got a dad, go give him something awesome. And
That's right.
mypillow.com, promo code DAD. They give you up to 67% off. If you're going to get something anyway, got to go to mypillow.com, check it out, and see if they have it first. I'm telling you guys, the towels especially, I'm going to talk about the towels for just a second. We just got a whole new set of towels.
Let's hear about it.
Like one of my most frustrating things whenever I go out to a hotel is you get those like really thin towels that like don't actually absorb anything. They're more like they just wipe off. They just wipe it off.
Yeah,
And they
it's
kind
like
of
a paper towel. Yeah.
And when we first got married, that's kind of what my wife and I could afford. Like I was betting on the moon. I was telling her, we got married young. I was married at like 20 years old. I was like, someday we're gonna have all the nice stuff. And now, we've been able to stay at some really nice hotels, and that kind of expanded our minds. I'm like, they have nice towels here. Like this.
Wait, there's better towels?
There's
What?
better towels than Walmart has accessible to them. And you go to MyPillow, like these these prices compete with like normal, like a lower end towel, but are like luxury, like almost like a Ritz-Carlton level thread counts. Like they're really, really, really high end stuff for your house. So go get yourself something, try it out, check it out. Make sure we're not lying about this promo code DAD, DAD, backwards forwards. Got to check it out and
Felt the same way.
something awesome. And then go follow us on YouTube, please. Please, we are asking you very kindly and nicely, hit subscribe on our YouTube account so you can see more content from the Alpha Dads when it comes out. Andrew, why should they subscribe to us on YouTube? What's the reasoning for subscribing?
We put some great content out there on YouTube, and it's like one of the best platforms, maybe not the best platform, but one of the best platforms that you can watch our content on. It gets uploaded every single week. We're uploading content up there, and we talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, friendships, fun, focus, how to be an alpha dad. There's a ton of great content on there, and you're missing out on that great content if you're not subscribed. So you need to go subscribe, turn on notifications, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. A ton of great stuff over there as well. There's a bunch of good content going out. So if you don't subscribe and you don't follow, you're just missing out on it. And I don't want you to miss out.
Don't miss out. Absolutely don't miss out. And let us know who else you guys think we should be following. Who's some alpha dads we should have on the show. Give us some comments down below. Hit us up on Instagram. Who should we be hitting up to come on the Alpha Dad show? Who is Alpha Dad worthy? And guys, we will see you next week for another episode of Alpha Dad Show. Thanks so much for joining.